What are you doing? Amara's voice cut through the silence of the boardroom, sharp but controlled. Her fingers instinctively reached up to her braids as Claire Whitmore let go with a smirk. Just curious if it's real, Claire said. Her tone light, almost playful. But the room didn't laugh. Instead, a low murmur rippled through the audience like an uneasy tide. Amara felt every pair of eyes on her, some curious, others judgmental. She clenched her fists under the table, forcing herself to breathe evenly. This wasn't the time to lose composure, not here, not now. She cleared her throat and resumed her presentation, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. As I was saying, this campaign strategy targets untapped demographics. But her words felt hollow now, drowned out by the weight of what had just happened. Later, when she replayed the moment in her mind, it gnawed at her. Was Claire's comment innocent, or was there something more insidious behind it? Either way, it left her feeling exposed, as though her very identity had been reduced to a spectacle for their amusement. The meeting ended abruptly after that. People filed out quickly, avoiding eye contact. Amara lingered, gathering her notes, trying to shake off the sting of humiliation. She told herself it was nothing, that she wouldn't let it define her day. But deep down, she knew better. And then Tariq approached her, his expression unreadable. Amara, can I have a word? Tariq Monroe's voice was calm, almost too calm, as he gestured toward his office. She followed him, still holding on to the remnants of professionalism despite the tension simmering beneath her skin. Once inside, he closed the door softly, a subtle power move, and turned to face her. You handled yourself well out there, he began, nodding approvingly. But we need to talk about your presentation style. My presentation style? Amara echoed, her brow furrowing. Tariq leaned back against his desk, folding his arms. Look, I'm not saying you don't bring value to the team. You do. But sometimes perception matters as much as reality. And frankly, some people might see your appearance as distracting. Amara blinked, processing his words. Distracting? Her braids were part of who she was, not some frivolous accessory meant to draw attention. You're telling me to change how I look because someone else decided my hair is unprofessional? She asked, incredulous. I'm saying you need to fit in better, Tariq replied, his tone firm but laced with condescension. It's not personal, it's business. You want to climb the ladder, right? Then consider toning things down, for your own benefit. His words stung worse than Claire's tug earlier. They weren't direct insults, but veiled critiques designed to chip away at her confidence. Amara nodded stiffly, biting back a retort. Arguing wouldn't help. Not here, not with him. As she left his office, frustration bubbled within her. How could they reduce years of hard work to something so superficial? And why did it feel like no matter how much she achieved, there would always be another hurdle disguised as advice? Walking past cubicles, she noticed the whispers growing louder again. Amara slowed her pace as she passed the break room, catching fragments of conversation. Did you hear about her presentation? One voice murmured. She didn't even credit Evan. Another replied, barely above a whisper. Her breath hitched. Evan? That didn't make sense. He'd barely contributed to the project beyond offering minor suggestions weeks ago. Why would anyone think she stole ideas from him? She hesitated, torn between confronting them and walking away, before she could decide. The voices shifted, quieter now, but unmistakably pointed. I mean, it's not surprising, someone added. People like her always find ways to get ahead. The implication hit her like a punch to the gut. People like her. As if her success wasn't earned but handed to her because of some diversity quota. Amara exhaled sharply, gripping the strap of her bag tighter. She wanted to storm in, demand answers, defend herself. But what good would it do? They'd already made up their minds. Instead, she kept walking, her thoughts spiraling. Who had started these rumors? And why Evan? Of all people, why would he turn against her? The questions haunted her as she stepped into the elevator, pressing the button for the ground floor. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than Claire's. Petty comment or Derek's dismissive advice. Someone was orchestrating this, planting seeds of doubt to undermine her. But who? Amara's phone buzzed incessantly as she stepped into her apartment that evening. Notifications flooded her screen. Emails marked urgent, messages from coworkers asking for clarifications. Her stomach tightened as she opened the first email. It was from HR, a formal complaint filed by Evan Cross. The subject line alone was enough to make her blood run cold. Allegations of intellectual property theft. She scrolled through the document, disbelief giving way to anger. Evan claimed he had sent her an email months ago outlining key concepts for the campaign, a near-identical framework to what she had presented today. He even attached screenshots of the alleged email exchange. Her hands trembled as she read further. The accusations were damning. Plagiarism, professional misconduct, and a breach of company ethics. How could this be happening? She hadn't seen any such email before today, yet the evidence seemed irrefutable at first glance. An email thread time-stamped weeks prior, complete with his ideas neatly laid out. This has to be fake, she muttered under her breath, pacing her living room. But who would believe her when the proof appeared so concrete? Panic clawed at her chest. This wasn't just about her reputation. It was about everything she'd worked for. Every late night, every sacrifice reduced to whispers behind closed doors. And now they were questioning not only her professionalism, but her integrity. As she stared at the email trail again, one thought gnawed at her mind. If Evan didn't initiate this on his own, then who did? Someone wanted her gone, and badly. Knock at the door startled her. Standing there was Tariq Bellamy, his expression unreadable yet oddly reassuring. "You need to see something," he said quietly, stepping inside before she could respond. Tariq shut the door behind him, glancing around cautiously before speaking. "I don't know how much you trust me, but I've been monitoring some irregularities in our system." "In our system?" Amara repeated, frowning. "What does that have to do with everything?" Tariq interrupted gently. "Specifically, your case. I noticed unusual activity around the time Evan supposedly sent you those emails. Timestamps were altered, metadata tampered with. It's all too clean to be coincidental." Amara sank onto the couch, her mind racing. "You're saying someone forged these emails?" He nodded, pulling out his laptop. "Whoever did it knew what they were doing. But no forgery is perfect. There are traces if you know where to look." She leaned forward, watching as he navigated lines of code and server logs. His fingers moved swiftly across the keyboard, pulling up discrepancies that confirmed his suspicions. "Can you prove it?" she asked, hope flickering despite herself. "I think so," he replied cautiously. "But we'll need more than technical evidence to convince HR or anyone else. Whoever set this up won't go down without a fight." For the first time since the allegations surfaced, Amara felt a sliver of relief. Not because the burden had lifted, but because she wasn't alone anymore. Still, doubt lingered. What if Tariq couldn't find definitive proof? Or worse, what if exposing the truth put them both in danger? "Why are you helping me?" she asked abruptly, meeting his gaze. Tariq hesitated, then shrugged. "Because I've seen how they treat people like us. Like we're expendable unless we play by their rules. I'm tired of staying silent." His words resonated deeply, reigniting her resolve. For now, though, she needed answers. Tomorrow, she'd take her concerns to HR. But part of her already knew what awaited her there. The next morning, Amara walked into the HR office, Tariq's findings tucked securely in her bag. She rehearsed her argument silently, bracing herself for resistance. Ms. Brooks, Ms. Reynolds, the HR manager, greeted her coolly. "Please sit." Amara took a seat, placing the folder on the desk between them. "I'm here to address the allegations against me. They're false, and I have evidence to support my claim." Reynolds raised an eyebrow, barely glancing at the folder. "Evidence against Evan Cross? He's a respected member of the team, Amara. Are you sure this isn't a misunderstanding?" "It's not," Amara insisted, her voice firm. "Someone tampered with the emails. I've brought technical Documentation to prove it. Reynolds sighed, leaning back in her chair. Look, I understand you're upset, but accusations like this, especially involving colleagues, need to be handled delicately. Without concrete proof? Concrete proof? Amara snapped, frustration boiling over. You mean beyond manipulated emails? Beyond the fact that my entire career is being called into question based on fabricated evidence? Reynolds's tone shifted, colder now. Let's focus on solutions, not blame. Perhaps taking some time off would help clear your head and allow us to investigate further. Amara left the office seething, realizing HR wasn't on her side. By lunchtime, Claire's influence spread anew. Colleagues avoided eye contact. Others whispered openly about her unprofessional behavior. Even invitations to meetings dwindled, leaving her isolated. That evening, Tariq called Amara urgently. I found something big, he said, his voice low but urgent. What is it? She asked, dread and anticipation swirling inside her. Emails. He replied, from Claire Whitmore. She coordinated the entire thing, coerced Evan into filing the complaint, tampered with timestamps, everything. She even threatened to expose personal information about him if he refused. Amara's heart pounded. Claire. Of course it was her. The same woman who tugged her braids in front of everyone, reducing her to a spectacle. Now she saw the full extent of Claire's malice. A calculated attempt to destroy her career. We need to act fast, Tariq continued. If we present this to HR or go public, we might stand a chance. But Claire will fight back hard. Amara clenched her fists, rage and clarity colliding within her. Then let's make sure she doesn't win. As they strategized, pieces fell into place. Claire's jealousy, her petty comments disguised as jokes, it all made sense now. She hadn't just targeted Amara professionally, she'd weaponized institutional bias to silence her. But Amara refused to bow. With Tariq's help, she began compiling the evidence, preparing to expose Claire's scheme. Yet doubts lingered. Would anyone believe them? Could they truly dismantle the web of deceit Claire had woven? For now, one thing was certain. Claire had underestimated her, and Amara intended to make sure she regretted it. The knock on her office door came just as Amara was packing her things. Derek stood there, his expression unreadable but tinged with something that felt almost like pity. Amara, he began, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. Effective immediately. You're being placed on temporary leave pending further investigation. Her throat tightened. You're suspending me? Based on what, fabricated emails and baseless accusations? It's standard procedure, Derek replied, avoiding her gaze. Until this is resolved, it's best for everyone involved if you step back temporarily. Temporarily. The word echoed in her mind, hollow and meaningless. She knew what this really was, an excuse to push her out of sight while they swept everything under the rug. By the time she reached her apartment, the weight of it all pressed down on her like a suffocating blanket. The room was dim, shadows stretching across the walls as evening settled in. Her phone lay silent on the coffee table, no calls or messages from colleagues who once praised her work. It wasn't just the suspension, it was the isolation, the erasure of years of effort in a single stroke. For hours she sat unmoving, staring at nothing, replaying every moment leading up to this point. Had she missed signs? Could she have done more to protect herself? But then Tariq's voice echoed in her mind. You can't let them win. Slowly, resolve began to flicker within her. This wasn't over. Not yet. If they wanted her gone, they'd have to fight harder than this, and Amara Brooks wasn't about to go quietly. As if on cue, her phone buzzed. An unknown number flashed on the screen. Amara Brooks? The voice on the other end was sharp, confident. This is Maya Rivers. I'm an investigative journalist. Amara froze, gripping the phone tighter. How did you get my number? I've been following your story, Maya replied without hesitation. And trust me, people are starting to talk. What happened to you isn't just workplace drama. It's systemic racism masquerading as professionalism. I want to help you expose it. Expose it. The word sent a shiver through her. For weeks she'd felt powerless against the machine grinding her down. But now someone outside the system was offering a lifeline. "What do you propose?" Amara asked cautiously. "We take your case public," Maya said firmly. "Share your side of the story along with the evidence Tariq uncovered. We'll make sure it goes viral before anyone can spin it their way." Amara hesitated. Going public meant risking everything, her career, her privacy, even her safety. But staying silent meant letting Claire and the company win. "Okay," she said finally, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "Let's do it." Over the next few days, Amara worked closely with Maya, crafting a video recounting everything from Claire's humiliating hair tug to the falsified plagiarism claims. They included screenshots of the tampered emails and Claire's scheming correspondence. Every detail mattered. Every word carried weight. "Are you ready for this?" Maya asked. As they prepared to post the video, Amara took a deep breath, nodding though Maya couldn't see her. "Ready as I'll ever be." Minutes after posting, notifications flooded in. Shares, comments, outrage. People were listening, and somewhere in the chaos, Claire panicked. The backlash hit like a tidal wave. Within hours, hashtags like Ask Justice for Amara and IPE Expose Corporate Racism trended nationwide. News outlets picked up the story, dissecting every detail of Claire's scheme. Pressure mounted on the company to act, and fast. Claire, however, wasn't going down without a fight. In a desperate bid to cover her tracks, she logged into the server late one night, attempting to delete incriminating files. But Tariq had anticipated her move. He'd set traps in the system, monitoring every keystroke. When Claire tried to erase the evidence, alarms triggered throughout IT. By morning, the entire company knew what she'd done, including HR Amara. Watched it unfold from home, glued to her laptop as updates poured in. Part of her wanted to feel triumphant, vindicated, but instead, she felt only a bittersweet ache. Justice had come, but at what cost? Later that day, Tariq called her into a virtual meeting. Claire sat slumped in her chair, defeated, as HR delivered the verdict: immediate termination. The company issued a public apology, pledging reforms to address workplace discrimination. But Amara saw through the polished statements. This wasn't real change. It was damage control. Firing Claire didn't dismantle the system that enabled her in the first place. Still, there was power in visibility. Thousands of people now understood how insidious racism could be, masked as professionalism, or hidden behind forged emails. That night, Amara stared at the glowing screen of her laptop, scrolling through messages of support. Some came from strangers sharing their own stories of workplace bias. Others were from colleagues finally speaking up. She realized then that while Claire's downfall marked a victory, the battle was far from over. Real change wouldn't come from one viral moment. It would take relentless effort, courage, and city. And Amara intended to lead the charge. It was a text message from an unknown number that stopped Amara mid-step. Tariq knew about Claire's scheme, and he helped cover it up. Her breath caught in her throat. Tariq, the same man who had dismissed her concerns, advised her to fit in better, and then suspended her without hesitation? How could he be complicit? She reread the message, searching for any hint of fabrication. But the sender included details only someone on the inside would know. Timestamps, private emails, even snippets of conversations between Tariq and Claire. Amara's hands trembled as she processed the betrayal. It wasn't just Claire or systemic bias. It went deeper, all the way to the people supposed to uphold fairness. Later that week, during a live interview with Maya Rivers, Amara made her move. "Let's talk about accountability," Maya prompted, leaning forward. "Who else is responsible for what happened to you?" Amara took a steadying breath. "Claire Whitmore orchestrated this attack against me, but she didn't act alone. Monroe, my boss, knew everything. He protected her, silenced concerns, and enabled this culture of discrimination." The accusation sent shockwaves through the audience. Within minutes, reporters were calling Derek for comment. When confronted, his defenses crumbled under scrutiny. "Was trying to protect the company," he stammered in a follow-up statement. "I didn't think it would escalate like this." But excuses weren't enough. By the end of the day, Derek resigned, leaving behind a tarnished legacy. For Amara, though, this revelation wasn't just about vengeance. It was about exposing the rot at every level of the system. And now she had a decision to make. Leave or stay and fight. Leaving would have been easier. Walking away from the toxic environment, the whispers, the betrayals. It was tempting. But Amara couldn't shake the thought of others still trapped within this system, facing the same biases she had endured. "I'm staying," she announced to Tariq one evening over coffee. "Not because I owe them anything, but because if I don't push for change, nothing will ever improve." Tariq nodded approvingly. "What do you have in mind?" Amara outlined her plan. Mentorship programs for marginalized employees, workshops on unconscious bias and policy reforms to hold leadership accountable. She started small, reaching out to colleagues who'd faced similar struggles. One by one, they came forward, sharing stories of exclusion, gaslighting, and microaggressions. Together, they formed a coalition, amplifying each other's voices. Her first initiative was a safe space discussion group, sitting in a conference room turned sanctuary. Amara listened as participants spoke openly about their experiences. "When Claire pulled your braids, I wanted to scream," said one woman, tears streaming down her face. "But I stayed quiet, because I didn't want to rock the boat." "You're not alone anymore," Amara replied softly. "We'll rock the boat together." Slowly but surely, her efforts gained traction. Executives began attending anti-bias training sessions, not willingly, but because public pressure left them no choice. Policies changed, albeit incrementally, thanks to relentless advocacy. Through it all, Amara transformed. No longer just a victim. She became a leader, a beacon of resilience for others navigating the same stormy waters. Yet, even as progress unfolded, she knew the work was far from done. This wasn't just about one company. It was about challenging systems everywhere. Which is why, when invited to deliver a TED Talk, she accepted immediately. Standing on the TED stage, Amara felt both vulnerable and empowered. Behind her, a slideshow. Displayed images, her braids, headlines about her case, quotes from supporters worldwide. "One tug on my hair shouldn't have mattered," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. But it did. Because it wasn't just about hair. It was about identity, respect, and power. She recounted her journey, the humiliation, the isolation, the victories, and emphasized the importance of allyship. "We can't dismantle racism alone," she declared. "It takes courage to speak up, but also courage to listen, to stand beside those targeted instead of turning away." Quoting lines like, "Silence protects no one," and "Justice isn't given, it's demanded," she inspired. Thunderous applause. As she concluded, she looked directly into the camera. "Change starts with us. Every person willing to challenge injustice, however daunting it may seem. One tug on my hair changed everything, but not the way they hoped." The audience erupted in cheers, many rising to their feet. Social media exploded with reactions, cementing Amara's message in the hearts of millions. And yet for Amara, this was only the beginning. Inspired by the overwhelming response to her story, Amara launched Equity Forward, a nonprofit dedicated to combating workplace discrimination through workshops, legal support, and grassroots campaigns. The organization empowered individuals to challenge inequities head-on. Testimonials poured in from beneficiaries. "Before Equity Forward, I didn't know where to turn," wrote one participant. "Now I feel equipped to advocate for myself and others." Media outlets hailed Amara as a catalyst for change, highlighting how her personal ordeal sparked nationwide conversations about systemic racism. Companies began revisiting outdated policies, fearful of becoming the next viral scandal. But for Amara, success wasn't measured in headlines. It was reflected in the lives touched. At a gala celebrating Equity Forward's first anniversary, she addressed the crowd. "This movement isn't mine alone," she said, smiling. "It belongs to everyone who refuses to stay silent. Together, we've shown that pain can become purpose, and injustice can fuel transformation." As she stepped off stage, surrounded by allies, old and new, Amara realized something profound. The fight wasn't over, nor would it ever truly end. But neither would her resolve, because one tug on her hair hadn't broken her. It had ignited a fire that would burn brighter with each passing day. This story sheds light on the battles so many face in silence, battles that demand courage, resilience, and unity to overcome. If Amara's journey moved you, imagine the impact your voice can have. By liking, sharing, and subscribing, you're not just supporting this channel. You're standing with everyone fighting for equity and justice. Let's amplify stories that inspire change and remind others they're not alone. Together, we can turn empathy into action. Hit that subscribe button, share this video, and let's keep these vital conversations alive. Your support matters more than you know.